Aye. How you doing, mate? You okay?
Okay, I'm fine, yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff, mate.
I'm still working.
Aye. Are you based still in Teesside, or where are you based at now?
What, sorry?
Are you based at Teesside still, or are you back home now? Back down to Liverpool?
Southport. About 30 miles from Liverpool.
Yeah. All right, it's not too far then. Yeah, so we'll just get started on anything then. So what was your sort of earliest memories of football then when you were growing up? Who were you supporting, that sort of thing?
Well, I didn't start till I was 14. I didn't play football at all till I was 14, but I used to go and watch Everton.
Yeah.
Football is really awful. I was a swimmer, actually, and I was a city champion triple jumper, so I was quite athletic, but I just didn't play football. And I was supposed to have trials for the England team, and I found out that you had to be up at 4:30 in the morning. So I thought, well, I ain't doing that. So I bought a football, started playing football. Within a couple of months, I was at Blackpool, playing for Blackpool. So it worked out weird.
Yeah. So can you remember your first coach then? Who was your first coach when you were starting out, when you were sort of youngster?
Well, I was at Blackpool. Stan Morton's inspired me, but I don't remember any of the coaches because he never coached me at Blackpool. But I went to Wrexham about 6 months later, and there was a guy called Ron Bellis, who was the youth team coach. And I suppose it started there, really.
Yeah. Yeah, so like you say, then you went to Wrexham. That was where you started your professional career, wasn't it, at Wrexham?
Yeah, I signed, I think I was 1968 to sign for them as an apprentice. And then it was signed pro in 1970.
Was it John Neal who was the manager there then?
John Neal.
John Neal, yeah. Yeah, you had, I think it was about 7 years there, wasn't it, at Wrexham, before you joined Middlesbrough?
Well, I was actually there 9 years because I was there as a youth team player as well.
Yeah.
So I played for the youth team for, must have been 2 years. As I say, I was there in 68, signed in 70. So I was a pro over 7 years at Wrexham before I moved to Borough.
Yep. Yeah, it just froze a bit there, I think. Yeah, so like you say, you were known as a bit of a legend at Wrexham. Obviously, you had a good time there, didn't you? Good few years spell.
I don't know. You have good years. I mean, the best year was the last year I was there, which was the year before the time for Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Between the three of us, it was myself, a guy called Bobby Shinton who went to Newcastle City, and Graham Whittle who played for Everton. And between the three of us, that season we scored 86 goals, but never got promoted.
Yeah.
So it was just a little bit. That's one of the reasons. I mean, I thought I always wanted to play at the top level anyway. And when John left, and he said to me, "I'm going," and I'm taking some of the players, and I thought, obviously, we're taking Graham Whittle rather than me. But yeah, he phoned me up. He said, "I'm at Middlesbrough, I want to sign you." And I had no idea what Middlesbrough was. You know, I had the map out, and I thought, well, it's not that far. It's not far on the map, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I did. Yeah, it's good. Loved it.
Yeah, I think at the time when he took you to Middlesbrough, didn't they sell quite a lot of the top players there, like Stuart Bowman, Stan Cummins, and people like that? Or was that just before you left, or around about the same time?
No, it was when I signed. It was Bowman. Billy Madden still played. I only played one game with Billy. Tony McAndrew was there. But we had a few youth team players, obviously like Mark Crockett and Dave Hodgson.
Yeah.
Craig Johnson was there as well. And I think we had the sort of start of a youth team coming through the first, in which we did at Wrexham when I was sort of first starting. But we had John Craggs, who was one of the best fullbacks in the league, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He should have got some caps, but he didn't get them. But say I was replacing Hickey, and Hickey was a legend. So it was big shoes to follow, and I don't think I actually followed them as good as what I should have done. I thought it was difficult for me coming from there, and I mean, to follow John Hickey,
Yeah. Yeah, they brought a few players in, I think, at the top. The likes of Terry Cochran, Mickey Burns, Bosko Jankovic. He was a bit of a strange signing, wasn't he? It came out of nowhere, I think, that one.
All of them are people.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a great bloke, except for the fact because he was sort of Yugoslavian and everything he ate was full of garlic. So he's doing sit-ups and he's facing you. And every time he comes up and breathes in you, he just wants to strangle him. But I mean, he was saying now he's off his head. And Mickey Burns, I roomed with Mick for probably about 8 months. And I'm doing a bit of great lads. Once you get into a football environment with these guys, they're like your family because you probably see more of them than you do your kids most of the time. And you get a really strong bond. And a really good team spirit in Borough.
Yeah, like you say, there was quite a few characters there. Was there any sort of, on your away trips and things like that, was there any sort of mischief or any jokers about there?
Never.
No, not like there is these days.
I mean, I used to room with Graham Headley, and I used to think him terrible. I didn't like his servants. I'm a best mate, killed the bone with him. But we were in Greece once, and I just said to him, I'm hungry, so we need food. So I sent him down to the kitchen at 4 o'clock in the morning. And he came back with sandwiches, and I just fed him on it. But I used to go to his bags, we used to go to away games.
Yeah.
And he got hot noodles. I used to eat a lot of it. Oh, well, that's why he's so thin.
You still keep in touch with any of your ex-teammates then?
Well, I did keep in touch with Graham Headley, and I speak to Trapper now again. I was over at a dinner that we had for the John Muir.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Trapper, Tony Mack. I also saw him at John's funeral because I was fortunate to carry John. Because obviously I've known him most of my life, more of my life than I sort of had left. So Trapper turned up and it was just like old times. But I don't see them as much as I'd like. I speak to Platy when I come over for games and stuff. But I should get over more, I suppose.
Yeah. Just looking back there as well, when you were at Wrexham, obviously they had a bit of a few good cup runs and things. Did you get in European Cup Winners' Cup as well? In the sort of early days, yeah.
Yeah, well, we got them twice. So we got to the quarterfinals against Anderlecht. And we got 1-0 away. And they were full of international players. Obviously, we were third division, they were top of the Premier Division.
Yeah.
And at home, we took the lead. We were winning 1-0 on the base score. I think 20,000 people there. We took the lead 1-0. And then Rob Rensenbrink, international, he scored an equaliser, which knocked us out. We were hoping it would go extra time because we thought we were the strongest team. But we did. Well, we never disgraced ourselves. And we played some of the top division teams like Spurs away, and we beat them away.
Yeah.
So I think the quote from Bill Shankly that he reckons were the best, we were at the time the best ever team to come up the lower league we've ever seen, which is like high praise indeed.
Yeah, I was just looking back over there. It was the 74th season, I think, when you split in FA Cup quarter final. You reached. You beat Middlesbrough actually along the way, didn't you? Got to the quarter final.
So I was dropped for them. I love Paul Jeff Davis was playing, and Dave Smallman, who went on to play for Everton.
Yeah.
Dave was just a natural goal scorer, and I think he scored in all the rounds of the cup. He actually got the goal at the racecourse when we beat Middlesbrough 1-0. But we were the same with the young lads, you know what I mean? We didn't fear anybody. And we'd always give anybody a good game. We went with that attitude. We had a lot of scouts, copy scouts as well, because that helps. Because, we sort of didn't matter what the team were. We never respected their status. We just thought we're going to go more down. So, yeah, we had some great wins.
Yeah, And like I say, after that, you sort of went out to Middlesbrough. Did you play under Jack Charlton, or did he just leave just as you came?
No, that's why I joined, because John Neal signed for Middlesbrough. I mean, I made no sort of told him that I wanted to play top league football, top flight football. We got the manager out in Griffiths, which, I mean, we were friends. It was like the 10 years I was there, or 9 years I was there. He was in the team, and I got on well with him, but I just couldn't see past that another season in the third division.
Yeah.
I looked up and I saw the results Fulham were getting, and like Graham Souness was there, and Terry Cooper, international, Jimmy Clark. I thought, that's for me, I want to do it. So, as soon as John says, I want to sign you, it's like, ready to sign, give me the pen.
Yeah, because they had a good spell under Jack Charlton, didn't they, just before John Neal came in? Obviously, they won the second division, I think it was, under Jack Charlton. They'd done really well. They had a good spell at one point.
Yeah, I mean, Jack was a great manager, and he got results, and he got put it up to where he wants him to get. And I think John was one of those managers that liked giving youth a chance, and he liked flair players. And from the time I signed, we brought the likes of Dave Hodgson, Mark Croft, Craig Johnson, Stan Cummins coming through the youth team. We had Stevie Bell. We had all these young lads coming through, and anywhere else you'd expect them to wait 2 or 3 seasons, but John had no qualms in putting them straight into the first team.
Yeah.
When you're playing with kids of this talent, but you've also got the likes of Spikey Armstrong, people like that, it was just a pleasure to play.
Yeah, when you sort of, I know there was likes of Graham Souness, Dave Hodgson and Craig Johnson, they all ended up going on to Liverpool. Did you always see them sort of having a great careers for like what they went on to have?
Yeah, well, I mean, Graham was destined to go and win things, and I think he's done everything he could at Borough. The investment we made, we went on buying players, we're more like sell players. I think Graham knew that it was time to move on. And I actually don't think Odgie, I speak to Odgie, I did a podcast with Odgie not long ago, and he was saying he didn't want to go, he didn't want to leave Middlesbrough, he was happy. But it was a financial thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know who made the decision, but when you start going, there's only one way to go. And that last season, when we got relegated, it was like, okay, we sold all the decent players, we've gone down to the second division, and they gave Bobby Murdoch the job. I've said before, it wasn't fair on Bob, because Bob wasn't a manager, he was a coach. And you've asked a guy to come into somebody else's shoes with a team that's depleted, and he's got to start from scratch. And I would think I would defy anybody to go and do that, except some of the top managers.
What was he like to work under then as a manager, Bobby Murdoch? He was a bit of a character, wasn't he?
I don't think we got on as well. We were both sort of fiery, and I think we had words up on one or two occasions. He didn't play me, and I had no problems with Bobby showing for a beer with him. I had a thing, we were at Arsenal, and apparently it was a suspected heart attack that I had. And all it was, I think it was hyperventilation. I got some pains and stuff. And we had to stay overnight. I had to stay at the hospital, found myself out, and I went back to the hotel with Bob. And we had a few beers and a chat, and we got on really well, except for when I was on the football field.
Yeah.
And I just had to feel it.
Yeah, I was just looking as well there. During your career, you actually played as a central defender and a centre forward. It's a bit of a strange one, that isn't it? Like sort of different ends of the pitch.
Yeah, but I mean, when at Borough, we had, I think it was John Cranch got injured.
Yeah.
And I played 2 games at right, and the 2 games I played was John Barnes, who was an England international, and John Robertson, who was playing for Scotland.
Not bad.
And he never got a kick, except for the 2 goals he scored, obviously. And the following week, we went to Arsenal, and John said to me, well, Cragsy's fit, but we got a problem in midfield. I'm going to play you midfield against Liam Brady. I was like, oh, what have I done to deserve this punishment? I mean, Liam Brady's on the field. But we got, I think we got a point, 0-0 draw. So I didn't do too bad. I think the following week he put me back on the bench.
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah, also as well during the I think it was the 76-77 77 season, you got in the third division team of the year. I think it was just before you left him for Middlesbrough, wasn't it?
That was 73, was it?
76, something like it. Yeah, I think it was round about just before you left for Middlesbrough. I think it might have been a year or so before.
I've got the medal upstairs somewhere.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I've kept. All the other stuff that I've got, we've got little trophies, medals, and stuff like this. And I was fundraising for the charity for handicapped kids and like learning difficulties. So I gave them all the trophies, and they put them in a display cabinets at the hall that we had. But the only thing that I kept was that medal for the All-Stars team, it was called.
Yeah.
Because we were voted for by the players in the league, and there were some great players, and I got the sort of centre forward of the year, so a little bit proud of that one.
Yeah, it was the PFA award, wasn't it? Yeah, so not a bad one to have that. Yeah, like you say, you've had 7 years at Middle. I think was it not 7 years? No, 5 years with at Middlesbrough altogether.
Yeah, 77 to 82.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I probably 2 good seasons out of it. So if you count the games that I played well and the games that weren't so good, but I absolutely loved the place. I watched the Bob Mortimer and Gone Fishing thing on television the other day, and I told people around here about they all talk about Southport and beautiful places in the Lake District, and I said, well, Middlesbrough's like that, and they were like, and this was their chance to actually see where I lived for them 5 years, and the place is stunning, and the people are brilliant.
Yeah, I think you left as well just before sort of the decline, really, sort of 85, 86 onwards, where they had a bit of a bad spell, didn't they? Nearly went out of business.
Well, yeah, I think when it was selling me, they went down the neck after that, didn't they? So it was their own bloody fault.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Holland at the time, so I was watching it from afar. And I was watching, some of my teammates and the young lads who were apprentices there, and I got ready to see them just fall from grace.
Yeah.
Like Wrexham at the time, like 13 years in that national league, whatever it's called. And it's the oldest international football ground in the world, and it's the third oldest football team in the world, and they're languishing in that division. It's not right.
Yeah, it's a shame, is it, when you see teams like that, sort of even teams like Bury, where they sort of have to start all over again, and it's happened with Darlington, a few other teams sort of starting a new club again, aren't they, really?
Yeah, it's such a shame, but I mean, as long as you don't go out of business and you come back stronger, because it's more financial these days, isn't it? If you haven't got financial backing, nothing happens. You can't do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned there, yes, when you left Middlesbrough, you went to Holland to play for FC Twente. That was long before Mr. Steve McLaren went over there. Obviously, tried the accent as well.
Well, I actually went down to Chelsea first. I went down because John was going to sign me at Chelsea. And I agreed to sign. I said to John, I'll sign. And I met Ken Bates, and he's probably a decent bloke, I don't know, but I just couldn't work for him. So I shook hands with John. I went back to Liverpool, and Annie also had been telling FC Twente that there's a guy here that's on a big transfer, so you should look at him. And when I got back to Liverpool, there was a couple of tickets to Schiphol. I went the next day, and within a week of signed.
Yeah.
Resurrected my career, because everyone thought I was going there to just tail off the career and have an easy time. But I actually lost the stone in weight because I had tests about these allergies tests, and they found out I had a bronchial problem because I had pneumonia when I was younger. So I was given inhalers. And instead of me not being much good at running over there, I'm still running most nights on my own for 5-6 miles. And when I tell the lads now at Wrexham, they joking. You've never liked running, you've never run. But it gets in your blood and you start to need. So I lost a lot of weight, and probably had my best ever season the second year I was there.
Yeah, I was just looking there. Your career, I think it's in the league. You've played 77 times and scored 29 goals, which is it's not a bad ratio, really. Like you say, you had a couple of years there.
Well, that's the third year I was there. I played sweeper, so those
Yeah,
goals were in the first two. Yeah, that was great. I mean, when you look back at it, you think, well, what did you do over there? It's like, well, I played against Cruyff, and I played against Van Basten and Gullit, Koeman brothers, Rijkaard, but I also played against the likes of Naistings and Luke Kroll from the older. Johnny
yeah,
Rep, I got a couple of points down my neck with Johnny Rep on night, and the other good old guy. So I was like mixing with the big guys, you know what I mean?
yeah. That's definitely something you can tell people that, and it's definitely something you never forget, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was difficult at first because you don't understand the language. Um, Things are going on around you, you don't quite understand what's happening. Then all of a sudden you start picking a few words up and phrases, and then you start making conversation with people and you understand what they're saying. So it becomes more like a home rather than a job that you've done abroad somewhere. So yeah,
Yeah.
that second year, obviously, when the goals, I've settled in by then.
So did you find it over there then, and like the culture and settling in over there? I mean, you didn't try the accent like Steve McLaren did you? He's pathetic at
Yeah,
times.
I did an interview with a guy called Jan Peters from one of the Chibanchi in Twente, or one of the newspapers. And he was talking about Steve McLaren, and I said to him, oh, yeah, he's doing really good, except for that stupid accent he's put on. And he answered me, what happened? I said, well, he was talking to a girl off the television, Marika or something. And I said, and he started talking like this, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
so hold your back. So Impact listened to the interview, and she actually spoke better English than Steve McLaren. And this young said, what the hell was he doing? I never even picked up on it. But he's still quiet and laughing at him. But to be fair, he did a good job.
Yeah, there's a few done that. Yeah. Yeah, so like you say, you had a good time there. Then you moved back home to sort of the Liverpool area. You signed for Tranmere. Did you only have one season there altogether?
So we're not speaking up now.
Yeah, sure.
I played about 16 games. The reason why I did it is because Frank phoned me up. Frank Worthington phoned me up. He said,
Yeah,
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 can you come and do a good job? I'm looking for like a centre half. I didn't pass up the chance to play alongside Frank Worthington. But I just thought I've got a trapped nerve in my back. And some days you get up and you're fine. Other days you pick a cup of coffee up and you can't move for 2-3 days or even a week. But I went out there and I enjoyed it because it's a local team for me. The road, so for the but that's the team you want to do well for. I played for Wrexham in red. I played for Butter in red. I played for Twente in red. The only team that you play for in blue, because I'm an Evertonian, you have a nightmare. But I think I played 18 games, scored 2 goals in it. I think I only played about 4 games up front with that. The same, it's Frank was brilliant.
yeah. So I'll just ask you a couple more questions. Yeah. So who was your first sort of hero then when you were growing up and you were watching football as a youngster? Was it an Everton player or somebody else?
But yeah, only Everton played.
Yeah.
The first one was Alex Young, the Golden Vision. And when we signed Alan Ball, it became, obviously with Alan Ball having the same colour hair as me, I was thinking I'm going to be a midfield player like Alan Ball, he's a hero. But I outgrew him by about 3 feet. But years ago, we had, I've got a couple of mates who were in the Searchers, the band the Searchers. We were over in the water, over in Birkenhead, and we were doing this football thing. And Alex Young was there, and we gave him a lift back in the van or in the minibus that with him.
Yeah.
And he was brilliant. He just wanted to sing Everton songs. And I was just sat there looking at him thinking, like, when I was a kid, you have thought, and you sat here talking to me like we've been next year. So, I mean, he wasn't an Alan Ball, but also because I live this end, I'm not in Middlesbrough, I got sort of adopted by the Everton lads. So I get invited to football dinners that we have with like Joe Royal and Derek Temple, good mate of mine, Ronnie Douglas, who works for Radio Merseyside. But yeah, I'm mixed with all the Everton lads, which is great for me because they were pretty much my heroes anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good, isn't it, when you sort of get to do them sorts of things.
Well, yeah, it's like I've got my season ticket for Everton, and we're walking on the ground, and then you hear somebody shout you, and it's like it's Joe Royal. How you doing, fat lad? Or how you doing, big fella? And he comes over and has a jab, and it's like mates for years, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a lot sort of in the press lately about the heading the ball and that sort of thing. They're trying to get it banned in training, I think, and there's a lot of from the '66 squad. They've all sort of had dementia and things like that. What do you think about that? Then do you think you can really ban heading from football?
Well, that was my game, wasn't it? And when we say it's not just in the game, because Jeff Hurst spoke about it the other week, and Jeff Hurst didn't head the ball like a centre half would head it or a centre forward head it. It was more about glancing play, everything was a flick on it. But he's saying in training, he used to have to get up there and head that ball. And when I was playing at Wrexham when I was like young, that was my forte, being like decent in the air. So I was heading the ball hundreds times a week. And I never thought, because I stuck to doing quiz words, crosswords, and I've got a treadmill in the conservatory, so I run and stuff, and I think I'm really healthy. But then all of a sudden it comes to like somebody you've known for so long, like a footballer or something, and who's that? So maybe there's a little thing, like an underlying thing with us all. But I've touched wood, I'm okay at the moment.
Yeah, there's a few people I've spoke to, actually, a few ex-footballer players, and some of them do. They can't even remember certain things about the career. They'll say, like, it might be for whatever reason, but they can't remember certain things. I mean, it could be connected. You never know, really, unless you get sort of tested out. But it's definitely something what's been mentioned.
Somebody said you need to do an autobiography, and I wouldn't be able to remember pretty much anything. I remember certain games because the stuff stand out. But as I say, I can actually look at something and say, I should know that. Well, I just think, well, I'm 68 now, so I'm getting old anyway. So it's, I just hope that no more of these guys sort of get this horrible disease. I mean, poor Nobby died, and you see it all the time in the paper, Dave Watson's got it now, and it's like, there's got to be some sort of link between football and this Bobby Charlton. But Bobby Charlton didn't head the ball in games, but obviously he did the same as everybody else. He'd be heading it in training.
Yeah.
Let's just hope it's sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because obviously it was sad to see what happened with Jack Charlton as well. I mean, he died, was it last year, I think, or the start of this year? But then obviously Bobby's having problems as well now, isn't he? He's got dementia now as well.
Well, I mean, I've got loads of mates who are boxers, and I see them, and they get, some of them wear great boxers, so they took a pasting now and again. But they're still eloquent. They do the academic tours and stuff like that, and they're really good. But then I see other guys there who are a little bit sort of, they've been pummeled, and you can see God of them, they're a little bit, what they call it, punch drunk.
Yeah.
Trauma, everybody would get it, I would think. But as I say, there's got to be a cure for it coming along soon.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I'll just move on to the last couple of questions. And anyway, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. We got there in the end, didn't we?
Eventually.
Yeah. So what would you say was your best moment in football that you can think of?
I think everybody says the same thing, is making your debut.
Yeah.
I was just turned 18 and it was Reading away. I was 0-0, the game was really nondescript, but I mean, that was my debut. But I mean, if you go through the team that played for us, like, you've always got a game that you say, well, that was, for me, that was the game. And I think it was with Wrexham, it was the Anderlecht game.
Yeah.
And with Butter, it was at St James Park, so I against the Barcode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter what, that's the derby game, that's the one you want to win.
Yeah, definitely.
So, it'd probably be the highlight of my career at two different clubs. Actually, Twente, it was, I scored, I think it was 4 goals in one of the 3 goals in the last game of the season, the promotion season. So I mean, that stands out as well.
Yeah. How did you get on in that game when you played against Newcastle then?
What, sorry?
How did you get on in the Newcastle game? And did you say, was that away at St James's?
Yeah, it was 4-2. I think it was, I scored 2, Little Stan Cummins scored one. I think it could have been John Cragg scored one. But it was, I say, to go to Newcastle, and obviously to pull out because it's Middlesbrough. That was a horrible day anyway. To come away from there 4-2, I mean, it's a great result for us because at the time, I said about John Neal, he was a real player for the manager. And we went there. It wasn't a dour performance, a dour like Middlesbrough performance. That's what they would say. It was a real win a game with a flourish.
Yeah.
I mean, you got little stands there, dribbling rings on people, and my little twinkle toes as well.
It's always good to beat the barcodes. Yeah. So, who would you say the best player was that you played with?
Played with, it's got to be, well, you see a toss of, I mean, I did play with George Best, but that was in a testimonial game, and it was just, I've got a photograph of me and George, a treasure. And I played with a guy over in Holland called Jan Sorensen, who played against Liverpool in the European Cup final at Wembley.
Yeah.
And I think he managed Walsall for a while over there. He still lives here, I still phone him every so often. But then you've got to narrow it down to one. It's got to be great,
Yeah.
Oh, he's incredible. He's an incredible player. But he's a good mate. I used to knock around with him when I first signed. He looked after me, and everyone said, don't knock around with Graham Souness because he gets into all kinds of trouble. It was completely the opposite. If he didn't think we worked hard enough in training in the morning, he'd come pick me up and he'd take me back in the afternoon, and we'd have to do shuttles because he said, you've got to be dedicated to this job. And everyone said, you're Champagne Charlie. I promise, he's a grafter, real hard worker.
Yeah, I think even now he's still well regarded at Middlesbrough. Obviously, he went on to Liverpool and then went on an even better career then, didn't he? But a lot of people have actually voted him Middlesbrough's #1 player over people like Janino and other people like that. So,
well, I would go with that. And I was at a dinner over there with Foley was there and Graham was there. And we was getting an interview Graham and he said, your happiest time in football. And everyone was expecting to say Liverpool. And he said, no, my most successful time was at Liverpool. He said, I won everything. My happiest time was here. He said, I loved Middlesbrough. He said, I was living in Dgs and TV, so you had a long lady to cook for him and stuff. He said, all my mates' career. He said, I had great mates in the club. He said, I had great mates off the field. He said, and I absolutely loved the place. He said, yeah, Liverpool won me the trophies.
Yeah.
This place. And he said, this is what I used to call home. So I thought it was a nice thing for him to say in terms of the whole, the players supporters.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, so that was the best player you played with then. Who would you say was the best player you played against? Or maybe the toughest opponent?
Well, yeah, I could say Cruyff obviously, but we only came on a sub. We sat on the bench because I just had some surgery to had a hole put in my face by somebody with a stud player and stood. So I didn't really get on that much, but I would say you've got to say the likes of Van Basten was one of the best players pretty much I've seen.
Yeah.
And then he never told me, and I hate to say it, but Kenny Dalglish. He's amazing. He was a bit of a magician, you know what I mean? He was, and I played against a Mark Kenny. I was there somewhere around by where he should have been. But me and Tony McAndrew Mark and then Ian Rush.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd give it between Kenny and Van Basten.
Yeah, I think it must be painful for you to say that as an Everton fan, but obviously they had a great forward line there, didn't it? Ian Rush and Dalglish, they scored some goals.
I'd like to say it was like, because I played against Bob Latchford and Bob was great. I mean, you talk about tough opponents. Don't get much tougher than Joe Jordan, but Jim Holton, God love him, Jim died when he was 40, but I played against Jim up at Sunderland when I was at Wrexham, and he absolutely booted me from one end of the pitch to the other. And with 5 minutes to go, I couldn't stand up. And I played against him. I scored actually. It was a 2-2 draw in the cup. And then we took him back to Wrexham on the Wednesday. And I scored the winner, beat him 1-0. And he never came near me all the game.
Yeah.
It was much like I punched him up. So, but he's tough, Joe.
Yeah, so like you say, you had sort of quite a long career there. Who would you say was either the biggest character or the one who done the most jokes out of all the teams you played for?
Well, I was always the one that was classed as the class skater.
Yeah.
When you have the Wrexham dinner, you know, the Christmas dinners. You might have a singer or a band on, but you never used to get a comedian. You used to make me get up and do it now. Same at Middlesbrough. I mean, that's something that's probably been a scout and Bobby Scout, so you don't mind making a show yourself now and again.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. I mean, Dave Armstrong was a funny lad. I mean, he was so dry, but he was really funny. And Graham Headley, it's like you'd be walking to a bar anywhere in the world, and you see a microphone there or a jukebox, whatever. Get me up to sing, and he'd get up anywhere and sing anywhere in the world. He's got a good voice, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. I don't doubt you for 1 second. Yeah, so I was looking as well there. Also, you played under quite a few different managers, all various different styles and things like that. Who would you say was either the best manager or maybe the best coach? Who you had the best time under?
Oh, John Neal. John Neal was the best manager. John Neal. I speak to John Neal's son now, David, and he knows that John had two lads. One of them passed away many years ago, and then he had David. And David, I'll pretty much say to you, we had 3 kids because Billy was like part of his family.
Yeah.
When John was at Middlesbrough, and I was staying at the Martin Hotel, me and the wife, and it was just living in a hotel sounds great, but it's a bit impersonal. So John made us stay with them for nearly a month.
Yeah.
So we stayed with John and Mark in Middlesbrough, so we looked after us. But then I went to Holland, and if you talk about coach, there was a guy there called Fitz Corbett. He's a nutter, absolute nutter. The first day of training, he had a go at me over something. So we were doing this little sort of rondo 5-a-side, so I whacked him because I was couldn't really put him over the wall. And he turned to all the other players and that's what I want. I just nearly broke his leg. And he was so happy. Because I said to him, he was a young lad, he was an athlete, a real good runner. And he said, you should be keeping up with him. I said, he's half my size. I said, when it comes to the winter months, he's going to be in the treatment room, and I'm going to be the one pulling my strike off. I said, now I'll score the goals for you, which, you know, big mouth, I'll do it again. And then in the afternoon, he stopped the training. He said, I just want to apologise to Billy. If that's what you're going to do, he said, I'll accept anything from you. And I thought, this guy is absolutely brilliant. And we became really good friends as well. And he passed away a couple of years ago. It's just a game because he's a fabulous coach. Yeah, Chris Corbett, brilliant.
Yeah, good times there. Yeah, so what would you say was the best piece of advice you received in your career then? What sort of held you in good stead?
I think John Neal, he said to me, like, he'd say, don't never clean it up a little bit, obviously. Never crap on your own doorstep. In other words, there's trouble here. But I think John had this way of doing things. We would come up to training one day, and he stood walking alongside me, and he said to me, I was in big lad. He said, I see you scored a couple of 180s in the pub last night playing down. Yeah, of course I did. He said, you must be spending some time down there practicing. But yeah, okay, yeah. Didn't need to tell you. So, you know, little gems that you get off the gaffer and stuff, yeah. So, it's all in there. It's going to be for you, but you can remember stuff. It's like, I know there's something else that was, but you can never remember.
Yeah. Is there any interest? Is there anything that way you would maybe have changed, or would you have it? See, have any regrets in your career, or not? I know a lot of people say they don't. Yeah.
No, I had loads. I mean, I did take it seriously, but as a young lad, I actually home in Liverpool to go and live in Wales when I was 16.
Yeah.
I said, well, what do you do living in somebody's back room, which part of my family were looking after me, but I was 15. And then I moved into Wrexham, and obviously you can't drink, so you start smoking, and I think what I would have done, I should have, I don't know, took it more serious. We thought it was a game, like go in and play. I think if we'd have looked at it and said, okay, I've got a long-term plan, I've got 20 years in this, and I'm going to do it to the best I've got. But we did it one day at a time. We went in and enjoyed ourselves. And so yeah, I think don't have any regrets. I would have ever, if I would have walked into somewhere now and said to the young me, I would have said, don't leave anything to chance. Don't have any regrets. Give it everything you got, the best you got. I gave it 100%, but I think physically I could have made myself a better specimen, if you like, a better person.
Yeah, definitely. That's good advice. Yeah, I mean, sort of. I tell my sons the same thing now because my two sons both play football. As long as you sort of go out there, give it your all, and try your best, then it doesn't matter what anyone says. That's all you can do, isn't it? You just got to give your full effort.
And then don't die. Tell them not to die.
No,
One
definitely.
of those things that, that's me. He's got them at Everton, so it's not just me having to go with other players. But I see them now, and it's like somebody catches you with a finger, and you're on the floor. And if that would have been the likes of Bomey or Big Eddie May, Steve Ingles, the players for Wrexham, they'd have been get up, you make the shoulders, and they'd have boosted you and got you back on your feet.
Yeah, even the likes of John Giles and Billy Bremner there would have just clouted him, wouldn't they?
Yeah, Joey Jones, the Wrexham is the same. He's got a bit like Vinnie Jones.
Yeah.
Tougher.
Yeah, some definitely characters in them days, wasn't there? Tougher than they are now. Yep, so I'd just like to say thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate that. It's like I say, it's took a while, but we got there in the end.
But in the end, yeah, fabulous.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, I always enjoy it. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, Bill, and all the best to you and your family, and have a good Christmas, mate.
And you, buddy, keep in touch.
Yeah, will do, definitely. Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, David.
All the best. Thank you.